Aloha, I'm here at the Honolulu shoreline at low tide. Since prehistoric times and even until today, Hawaiians and other residents have come to places like this to harvest seaweeds for foods and medicines. And just like the harvesting of land plants, the harvesting of aquatic plants requires quite a bit of ecological knowledge. First of all, there are hundreds of species of limu that live in Hawaiian waters, and many of them are endemic. They have different preferences for the kinds of substrates they like to grow on, and different tolerances for exposure to light and to air. Factors like water motion, nutrient availability, influx of fresh water, depth and temperature can all influence the types and abundance of limu that can grow in a given area. So I'm going to do my pule, get my bucket, and go dig around it here and see what I can find.
Aloha, this presentation is based on Abbott Chapter 6, Food Plants from Aquatic Sources. The Hawaiian archipelago is home to a wide variety of native and introduced macroalgae. Just as with land plants, geographical isolation and a wide range of habitat types led to the evolution of numerous species, and many others have been introduced either intentionally or unintentionally. Dozens of species, both native and introduced, inhabit typical reef flats like this one in Kalailoa. So what are limu? Pukui and Elbert defined the term as a general name for all kinds of plants living underwater, both fresh and salt, also algae growing in any damp place in the air, as on the ground, rocks, and other plants, also mosses, liverworts, and lichens. So limu is an inclusive term, which includes bryophytes and lichens on land, as well as some soft-bodied animals. For example, the limu make ohana is a coelenterate, a kind of toxic anemone. Today the term limu is primarily understood as macroalgae or seaweeds. There are three evolutionary lineages of macroalgae. The oldest and most abundant in terms of numbers of species is division Rhodophyta, the red algae, represented in Hawaii by over 340 species. The second most diverse is division Chlorophyta, the green algae, represented in Hawaii by over 100 species. The green algae, if you remember, are ancestors of all land plants, including bryophytes, pteridophytes, pinophytes, and angiosperms. The most recently evolved group is division Phaeophyta, the brown algae, represented in Hawaii by over 60 species. According to one compilation, Hawaiians applied names to 149 different seaweeds, but Dr. Abbott has only been able to link 60 or so of these recorded names to a currently recognized species. The other names may be lost, refer to different kinds of organisms, or maybe duplications. Reed in 1907 listed some 70 or so species that were of economic importance. Regardless of the true number, it is clear that Hawaiians ate more kinds of limu than other Polynesian groups. Dr. Abbott regards limu as the third component of the traditional Hawaiian diet, along with fish and poi, providing much-needed minerals and nutrients to the diet. Limu always accompanied a meal and could be eaten fresh, fermented, dried, or added to stews in the imu as a thickener. Prior to 1778, it was women that specialized in the collection and preparation of limu. Dr. Abbott hypothesizes that this may be because there were very few kapu associated with limu, unlike many other crop plants which forbade women from eating or preparing them. Limu were also used for many kinds of cultural uses. For example, limu kala is still used in ho'oponopono ceremonies, burial and mourning rituals, la'au lapa'au, hi'uvai, and blessings. Kala means to forgive. Limu pakaea was kapu to all those with shark aumakua, as young sharks were believed to sleep in blankets of this algae. Limu li pe'epe'e was kapu to hula dancers, as the secrets of hula might remain concealed or pe'e if eaten. Let's go over some more of the commonly collected species. The Rhodophyta, or red algae, includes limu kohu, eaten in stews or in lomi'i'a. Limu manawea is the native equivalent of Japanese ogo and is commonly eaten in poke. Limu huluhuluvaina and limu lepeahina are less common, but are also beloved by many Hawaiians. Another famous red algae is limu pahe'e, a species of porphyra. Porphyra includes a limu called nori, used in sushi and musubi. And to the right, you see how this species of limu is farmed in parts of Japan. So as you can see, they grow the limu on nets, which they raise in and out of the waterline. The chlorophyta, or green algae, include limu vavaiole. eaten along with fish, sea cucumber, or urchins, or sometimes added to stews. This limu, a species of codium, is also eaten by many other groups throughout the Pacific. Limu ele is also a green alga. It grows where there is an influx of fresh water and can be salted and allowed to ferment before being added to stews. A close relative is Limu pacayea, which we discussed earlier. Species of Caulerpa, also called sea grapes, are eaten in Hawaii and by other Pacific cultural groups. Care should be taken with this limu, as apparently some have experienced ciguatera-like symptoms after eating it. The phaeophyta, or brown algae, includes Limu calla, a sargassum species which we discussed earlier, and also the fragrant Limu lipoa, delicious in stews. Today, various species of limu are used in fertilizers, as foods by many Pacific and Asian cultures, and extracts of species of limu also find their way into all kinds of products. Potash and alginate from kelps, as well as carginin and agarose from red algae, are starches that find their way into non-dairy creamers, ice cream and candy bars, toothpaste, and a whole bunch of other household products. Just like in the terrestrial environment, there are introduced algae that have become naturalized in Hawaiian waters. Some have proven terribly invasive and pose serious threats to reef and other nearshore habitats. Shown here are Capophycus, a red algae that was introduced for carginin production, but quickly overgrew reefs in Kaneohe Bay. Hookweed was introduced to the bottom of a barge and is now found throughout the archipelago. More famous examples of invasive limu include the red alga called gorilla ogo, a transplant from Southeast Asia that has overgrown reefs and bays on Hawaii and Oahu Islands, and Averinvilia amadelpha, or mudweed, a green algae that is rapidly spreading in sandy and muddy habitats. Finally, a word on the author of our textbook and Kamehameha graduate, Dr. Isabella Iona Abbott. Dr. Abbott was born in Hana on Maui and was a boarder at the girls' school here at Kapalama. She graduated in 1937. She received her undergraduate degree in botany at the University of Hawaii at Manoa in 1941, a master's degree in botany from the University of Michigan in 1942, and a PhD in botany from the University of California, Berkeley in 1950. She is credited as the first Native Hawaiian woman to earn a PhD. She became a professor at Stanford University at Hopkins Marine Station, where she documented the marine algae of California. She later returned to Hawaii and worked at UH as a professor of ethnobotany, where she wrote our textbook among many other publications. It was during this period that I was able to study under Dr. Abbott as a graduate study in the Department of Botany. And so the last 10 minutes of this video are old footage from a video with Dr. Abbott where she describes how she learned about limu while picking limu with her mother during her childhood. Enjoy!
My mother came, and 8 generations before her came from Lahaina on Maui. Lahaina is the place I knew best in Hawaiian Islands, except Honolulu. I was born in Hana on Maui, but we came to Honolulu when I was 3 years old, so it's Honolulu I know as home. When we were in Lahaina, we would also go around and look for seaweeds. It was something for the kids to do. And when you're looking for seaweeds, you're not exactly drowning, and doing crazy things out in the water. So my mother and father both were happy to take us to the beach because we would be occupied and they'd have a good day in the sun as well. And my Hawaiian mother used to gather small kids together and friends, and she'd pick friends who had small kids too, and we'd all go to the beach. And where would we go? Well, where Magic Island is now, sort of, and over by Halekulani Hotel, which you would be urged to please don't litter this beach with your buckets and things. They're nice, but after all, the tourists there don't know how important this little expedition might have been to us. Well, this is how I learned about limu when I was small. my mother knew the names of practically every edible species I know. The ones she didn't know the names of, she said, were opala. Opala is a Hawaiian word for rubbish. Something like 100 Hawaiian names, of which we can equate them with scientific names. We can equate maybe 60 of them with scientific names. Dr. McClatchy had a student recently, Kamaui Iona, who lives on Maui, and he was one who went around interviewing people to ask them, and you have to do it when you have living plants like this or in the water with them. Hey, what's the name for this? I don't know. Well, all right, you don't know. So we swim 10 feet more. Hey, what's the name for this? Oh, I think maybe it's limu. That's how you get names. And of course you have to ask them several times. That's where you confirm that this name is applied to the same seaweed several times. I think that it's getting almost too late to get confirmed native names of algae. The fact that we now have a list of about 100, the average Hawaiian might only know 6, perhaps. But if you compared that with the average Tahitian or the average Samoan, they only know maybe 3. This particular species, Sargassum echinocarpum, known as limu locally, Kala, is very famous because among the Hawaiians, because a piece this big, for example, might be given to everyone in a family which is in some kind of dissension. Somebody in the family had done something that is irritating or even makes you really angry that you did something bad, so that the name of the family is compromised. The mother, usually, of the family gathers the Sargassum limukala, about this size, one for each person in the family. You sit in a circle and you pray to whatever god or goddess or aumakua that you want to pray to. The idea is to forgive everybody in this circle. Everybody. Whether you are innocent, you never even heard anything about this till your mother said you have to come to Ho'oponopono this evening. Ho'oponopono means to make things right. I think you already can see what's happening here. It is that forgiveness is not a one-way street. Everybody has to forgive everybody in order to live together. And the name for this, kala, means to forgive, limu kala. This limu also is used in purification ceremonies, such as if you have been sitting with someone who died, you purify yourself by having limu kala. If you're going on a dangerous mission, say maybe a long trip, and you don't know where the end of the trip is, you would be purified before you went, and so on. So it has religious connections as well as social connections. And those of you who know something about Esalen, which is at Big Sur in California, it costs you upwards of $450 a day to go and get that kind of massaging, shall I say, of feelings, so that you come to respect the feelings of others. And you do not, in the Hawaiian style, you do not leave that circle. If you have to go to sleep that night, this is adjourned to another time that is set. not just we'll meet another time, but tomorrow or next week or whatever. Because in your heart you will have to have cleansed all ill feeling you had for anybody, and when you come out of it, it's magic. Everybody respects everybody, and the same person you could have killed them the day before or the week before, you think just the most wonderful person you ever knew. So that is limu color, sargassum, and this is another species of limu color. This one is Sargassum echinocarpum. This one is Sargassum polyphyllum. There are 6 endemic species of Sargassum in the Hawaiian Islands, and endemic means it's not found elsewhere. You know, if you like coconut, it improves anything, including the seaweed. So that's why they fix it. Why don't we put coconut on it? If we ever thought to, from the early Polynesians, coconut is one of the body forms of the god Ku, just as bamboo and taro are body forms of the god Kane. The pig and sweet potatoes are the body forms of Lono, and bananas are the body form of the god of the sea, Kanaloa. Women were prohibited from eating any of those foods. In the case of bananas, there were 70 named varieties in Hawaii, and only 3 of them were free for women to eat. That's sort of a, minuscule gift, considering there are 67 others that other people could eat, males, that is. Anyway, this prohibition of certain kinds of foods on land and in the sea made limu very important, because they were, with few exceptions, no couple connected with limu. So the women are the ones who became the specialists. In 1970, when I started to interview people about names, Hawaiian names for limu, I asked a man in Kaunakakai on Molokai if he knew names of Hawaiian limu. I never met him before. He said, no, but you should ask my auntie. Where does your auntie live? Well, she's right down the street here. I'll take you. So we went and talked to his auntie. And then she said, you should talk to our grandmother. Well, next thing I knew, I was going down the road to Foucault, to her grandmother's house. So at that time, there were many more people who knew the Hawaiian names, who could associate them with the seaweed. I think that I built up the scientific names more, though I have a long list of Hawaiian names, and Kamaui also does. We are a long way from equating them with scientific names.